think and prevail in your fantasy football league with the help of our starting lineup. At host to quarterback the show, we have Nick Giacobbe. Up next, a dual threat in Dynasty and Daily Fantasy, we have Cody Repass. And finally, working the waiver wire, we have Nick Cap. These are your playmakers that will provide you with sleepers, breakouts, and busts to help you achieve fantasy glory. This is the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Week 8 live edition of the Primetime Fantasy Podcast, a special Halloween 2021 edition of our live show, where we give you our predictions, our picks, in the hopes that we hope you prevail today in Week 8 and the rest of the 2021 fantasy football season. I am your host, your friendly neighborhood fantasy football analyst, Nick Giacobbe, and joining me this week and every single week is Prison Mike, Nick Cap. Nick, how are you doing? It's Halloween.
I'm doing good, Nick. I'm doing good. Just got out the clink for this episode.
Oh man, what were they running you up for? Bad lineups, bad start sits. Like, what are we working?
Yeah,
with?
that's exactly what happened.
If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Thank you so much. We are not usually dressed in costumes, but obviously to celebrate the occasion of Halloween, I'm Spider-Man. Nick is Prison Mike. I will be taking this mask off momentarily because it is very hard to breathe in it. But we have a fun live show for you guys today. We have injury updates rolling out right now that we're going to discuss in a minute or two. We also have a trick or treat segment. We're going to give you one trick and one treat from every game talking about in Week 8. And on top of that, my favorite part of the show is the questions. We want to answer your questions. We want to help you with your lineups. We want to help you with your start sit issues. So if you have any questions, whether you're watching us on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, send in a question. We're going to answer it immediately, no matter what we're talking about. We'll pause for a second. We'll answer your question, and we're going to help you out to the best of our ability. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Thank you so much. We do this show every single Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time on our Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Nick, can you tell the people where to find us while I take off this mask?
You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all your apps where you would go watch your podcast or listen. That's where we are at. You could go check us out on social media. That's where you can stay updated for our live episodes. And definitely want to make sure you're there for every Sunday before the show.
And if you do want to listen to us during the week, we do shows on Tuesdays and Fridays. You can find the audio version of the podcast everywhere where your podcast can be found, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Google Podcasts. If you're on Apple, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. The podcast form is also on video on our YouTube channel, Primetime Fantasy Podcast. Okay, Nick. So I'm just going to remove you from the stream real quick. All right, Nick. We're going to start off with some injury updates for the 1:00 games, actives, inactives, and find out who's in for these games. So I just want to pull some injuries right now that are for the later games, at least. I know Dak Prescott's a bit of a problem right now. Dak Prescott's calf, he's had limited practice all week, but Cooper Rush has taken most of the first team reps this week. I know he's dealt with this issue for 2 weeks. Thankfully, he had the bye week. But this could affect the other players on the Cowboys. It could affect guys like Amari Cooper. It could affect it could affect people like CeeDee Lamb. So Nick, what do you think is the repercussions if Dak Prescott is not able to start tonight on Sunday Night Football?
I mean, if he's not starting, you got a quarterback that's thrown 3 passes in the NFL. At least he's a quarterback that's been practicing with the team, so it won't be as bad as like Kendall Hilton last year. But I mean, it's definitely not an ideal situation. Not having Dak Prescott at quarterback definitely limits all those wide receivers. They see a lot of benefit from having all 3. I think, the game's going to run through Pollard and Zeke. If Zach's not there, even with Dak dinged up, I don't know, Gallup should be back this week. I don't know if they're going to be airing it out to him as much. I don't know, you're going to be looking for your 10-yard routes with CeeDee Lamb. They're really not going to be pushing Dak's limits, I don't think, in what should be a tight game.
I think the bigger issue is that you can't start Dak Prescott because he's playing on Sunday night. So unless you have Kirk Cousins or Patrick Mahomes or Daniel Jones, you can't comfortably start Dak Prescott. So Nick, let me ask you, if you do have Dak and your backup is Kirk or Daniel Jones, are you comfortable just putting Dak in until you find out if he's active or inactive? And if he is active, are you starting him?
That's exactly what I did. I have Dak in a league, and I picked up Daniel Jones. If Dak's not, only because Kirk wasn't playing, I'd put Kirk above Jones. But I mean, I'm not disappointed with Daniel Jones's matchup. Everybody's been lighting up that Chiefs secondary, and for Monday Night Football, you get to wait an extra day. I mean, it's a good situation because it's a good streaming quarterback for the week. That's probably still on most waiver wires, so you could probably still pick him up if you're dealing with the Dak issue. But you got to do it before the 1:00 games because who do you really want to drop? Obviously, you're not dropping Dak for Daniel Jones. When it looks like it's only going to be a 1 week issue, if anything. So make sure you pick them up early before this 1:00 game slate.
So let me ask this. If you have your choice of Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones as your backup for this week, if that can't play, which one would you rather play?
I'll go with Kirk because I don't think it'll be a clock management game for the Vikings. I think they go and just say, we're going to put up points because we know Cooper Rush can't hang with us. So I think that's what the Minnesota's game plan will be. I think against Dak, they say, we got to run the clock. We got to control the ball. So I would trust Daniel Jones over Kirk if Dak were playing, but if Dak's out, I think the game script entirely flips, and it's just let's go put the points on the board so this way they can't run back into this game. That you got to make Cooper Rush throw to catch back up.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I would do too. I'm looking here. I don't see any major injury news as of yet. Corey Davis is inactive. I guess that's minor-ish. I don't know. I wasn't starting him anyway. Were you starting him in any leagues? Because I wasn't comfortably starting him with Mike White. Is that who your quarterback is? That's
who's playing. I think Flacco will take over at some point early on.
Cool Joe.
We'll see. I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind if you played Crowder this week. I would look to pivot off anyone other than Michael Carter for the Jets this week. But I mean, Crowder's going to just get a ton of usage anyway. You need a veteran wide receiver, and that's the only vet that they have to throw the ball to. So they'll probably just line him up in the slot, say 5 yards, 10 yards, go for 10 targets this game. He's not going to find the end zone, very unlikely. So you're really not banking on high touchdown with Mike White at quarterback. So Michael Carter is the only Jet I'm really starting anyway.
Oh, is Baker out? Hold on.
Was Baker ruled out?
Trying to figure this out right now. Hold on. Oh, different Baker. That's a bad Jerome Baker. That's a bad update from Fantasy Life. Here's a big one though. Calvin Ridley's out due to a personal matter.
That's the second time this year?
It's the second time this year, yeah. The last one was the London game. They played the Dolphins last week, and he played last week, I believe. Unless I'm wrong on that.
He played last week. He played the Jets in Atlanta, and he didn't play.
Yes, it's the second
the Jets
time.
in London and didn't play there.
I don't want to speculate since it's a personal matter. If it's something mental, I hope that he could, whatever it is, I hope he could get it right. That's too bad, though. But that's big for your lineups. I have Matt Ryan starting in our league.
I mean, Kyle Pitts is going to go through the roof.
Yeah, that's big for Kyle Pitts. Yeah, that elevates Pitts.
I think Russell Gage is a good start. I think Russell Gage is a good start without him there. You know that Atlanta's going to look to throw the ball first and foremost. That's the way that their team moves, not through Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson. And even Cordell Patterson is short screen passes. So I'm not worried about Matt Ryan. But Russell Gage came off a pretty good week last week. Looked like the player I thought he'd be going into the year, other than the injuries leading up to it. So I think Russell Gage, you could get away with starting him this week.
Would you start him in standard 10-man leagues or just 12-man?
If you need a flex position because of other injuries or question marks, like if I had to choose between Odell and Russell Gage, I'd go with Russell Gage this week.
Right. Really? Well, speaking of Odell, he is active.
Yep.
Do we have a question? We do have a question. Let's pull this one up. My brother Joseph Giacobbe, should Justin Herbert be played every single week? Joe Burrow's my backup. Jeez. You're starting.
I mean, that's a good quarterback situation.
Jeez.
I think for me, I lock Herbert in my lineup every week, unless if there's a streamer that I absolutely have to play, because I usually won't roster two quarterbacks unless I know someone's dealing with an injury. So I mean, if you have the luxury of having both, you play the better matchup. And I know Nick said go bench Joe Burrow this week, but
no. I didn't say that. I didn't say no. I said he's not scoring 40 this week. I didn't say bench him.
Temper expectations. I'd play Joe Burrow. I would easily play Joe Burrow over.
Yeah, I would.
over Herbert against New England.
Yeah, I would also play Joe Burrow, Joe. I think the New England matchup's a bit of a tough one. I know the Chargers are coming off of a bye and Eckler's banged up, but I would play Joe Burrow this week if I had that opportunity. Let's see. Other injury news. Odell Beckham Jr. is active. Baker is active. I don't even see that Baker's active. It doesn't say he's not active, so they would have announced that by now. So
I think they already said he was playing earlier in the week.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Jamal Williams is out today. I don't know what the injury on him is. I can't really type right now because of my spidey hands. But that's pretty big for DeAndre Swift, who's been a borderline top 5 fantasy 5 running back this season. So Swift is going to get most of the workload against a terrible.
I think he's been the RB2 or RB3 on the year.
He's had a really good year. And the Eagles are not good. The Eagles are a terrible team, and the Lions are winning today. I'm sticking to that one.
That's why DeAndre Swift is on the thumbnail for this episode. That's why I put him there. He's bound to have a monster week, and now that we know Jamal Williams, the team runs through DeAndre Swift.
I don't think he is on the thumbnail.
Is he not? I thought I had.
No, I think you put Herbert and Mike Williams.
Oh, put Mike Williams. Did I put Mike Williams?
Okay, it's Mike Evans. It's Herbert and Mike Evans.
Okay, I had DeAndre Swift originally, and I took him out.
Other injury news. Odell Beckham Jr. shoulders expected to play, obviously now. Austin Eckler, he sat out of practice all week, but then posted his fantasy roster, and he was starting himself. ESPN confirmed that Eckler is playing, but he didn't practice all week with a hip injury. Nick, are you concerned at all? As somebody, I think you own Eckler in 2 leagues, 3 leagues?
Yeah, I was high on Eckler going into the year. I'm still starting him. I'm not worried.
Yeah, I mean, are you worried at all, or it's just kind of business is business? Your
business is business. The man said he's starting. If he's saying I'm going out there and I'm playing, I'm trusting him to go out there and play. He's got to back his own word up now. This isn't the team saying you're good enough to play. Do you want to? This is him saying, no, I'm good enough. I'm going out there. I'm going to perform. That's what he just said in that statement. So I'm trusting him.
And Eckler's also a fantasy guy. I know he put a statement out before the season. He said, if you draft me on your fantasy roster, tweet me every week, and I'll pick one person to send a jersey to or something like that. So Eckler's a fantasy guy. So I think he wants to win his fantasy matchup as well. So yeah, you're starting Austin Eckler no matter what. Alex Collins, limited practice Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday, limited on Friday. I think Pete Carroll pretty much said he's good to go with his groin injury. How worried are you with his injury if you're an Alex Collins owner?
No concern for me there. I like Alex Collins. I've been high on him ever since Carson went down, and I like the talent that's there, so I'm not worried.
I'm benching Alex Collins.
I think you have the same outlook you had the past 2 weeks when you were playing him. So if you expected him to be the number 1 running back, finish as a top 10 running back, well, that's just not who he was going to be. You expect him to be a low-end RB2, and if he can perform that, he's good enough to be a starter.
Right. Yeah, I'm out on Alex Collins. I'm out on all the Seahawks besides like DK Metcalf, and even him, it's a tricky starter, like your flex position. It's just none of those Seahawks are good right now for fantasy for another week at least, and then the savior comes back. Rob Gronkowski is going to be a game time decision with his rib injury. He was limited practice all week. If he is good to go, Nick, are you starting him? I think that's a 425 game.
No, I already said it on this past episode. That's the guy I'm flopping this week. I don't think Gronk bounces back. He's coming off multiple rib injuries. I'm not trusting him to return. We saw Drew Brees once he came back from the rib injuries, and Gronk's got to go run up and down the field a bunch of times. He's going to get winded early, and Mike Evans has been a monster on the outside with no AB there. I think it's the same exact game script. Mike Evans, big game.
I think the other issue with Gronk is that I'm pretty sure it's a 425 game. I'd have to look that one up. But if he doesn't start, who's your backup tight end? Like, do you have a backup tight end? And if you do have a backup tight end, there's only so many games that you could even, play around with right there. So I'm trying to pull up the schedule right now.
So from the 4:00 games on, you have Jared Cook, Hunter Henry, or Jonnu Smith. You have Seattle, Jacksonville, so probably not playing a tight end there. Ricky Seals-Jones, Noah Fant.
But they're probably rostered at that point.
Yeah, they're rostered. Juwan Johnson or Gronk.
Your options are probably Conklin and one of the New Orleans tight ends.
Exactly. Then you're going Conklin, you're going New Orleans tight end, or Evan Ingram. I would play, knowing all the injuries at wide receiver there. Yeah,
I would bench Gronk this week. Just knowing that you may not have Gronk and you may not have another option if you don't have Gronk.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Nick. Let's go to a nice trick or treat. We're gonna go through each game, and I want you and me. We're each gonna give each other one trick and one treat for fantasy purposes from each game. If you guys are watching the stream, if you have questions at any time with your lineups, throw them in there. We're going to answer them at any time. Don't think that because we're not talking about a specific game or player that we won't answer it. Anytime you have a question, throw it in. First game, Carolina Panthers at Atlanta Falcons. I mean, you just talked about Russell Gage. So, Nick, give me a trick and a treat for this game.
I was going to go with Robbie because I like his target share over the last 4 weeks. But knowing that, Calvin Ridley's not there, Kyle Pitts is the number one receiver there. And when Julio was the number one, Russell Gage was the biggest benefactor when Ridley wasn't there. Gage saw incredible performance after incredible performance. And I expected him to step up this year, being the wide receiver too there. With injuries, he has not been on the field. Now there's no Calvin Ridley and Pitts has taken that step up. I think Russell Gage, you could lock him in your lineup. I'm not concerned at all. He had a good week last week, looked good on the field, didn't look like the injury was bothering him too much. Now he goes into Carolina, who's been struggling. I think he gives you a good performance.
And what about your trick on the week?
For trick, I mean, I don't know if Darnold's gonna so much you could say he's a trick because he sucked the last 3-4 weeks.
It's possible.
But I mean, it's a trick if you think that he's going into Atlanta and putting up numbers. They benched him last week for his poor performance. I could see them doing it again, and I could see by Wednesday them going after Deshaun Watson. The rumors out that they're not interested in him, and then you see a rumor that they're willing to trade Christian McCaffrey and 3 picks. Next week they're saying Sam Darnold's our quarterback. It sounds like a trick coming from the front office there for who their quarterback really will be by the end of the year or going into next season. So I'm not trusting Sam Darnold.
For me, I think my treat's going to be Kyle Pitts. I know it's an obvious one, but the Carolina Panthers are giving up the 9th most fantasy points to tight ends. I think Pitts was the tight end 1 or 2 on the week last week. I think he's going to be a tight end 1 or 2 this week again. He's going to get a lot of targets from Matt Ryan. He's going to be the premier pass catcher. The Panthers, who started 3-0, what are they now? 3-3, I think. Are they 3-4? 3-4. Yeah, everybody was saying, "Oh, the Panthers might be for real this year." No. They versed some pretty bad opponents. They versed the Jets. I don't remember the other 2, but the Jets are pretty bad. So the Jets. So there you go.
The Jets.
And my trick on the week is just going to be Panthers wide receivers not named DJ Moore. I can't trust Sam Darnold. I can't trust that Panthers offense. I'm all out on them. I mean, you probably got to play Chubb Hubbard if he's your backup to Christian McCaffrey. You probably got to start him, and he'll have a fine game. But I'm not trusting Robbie Anderson. I don't care what the target share is. Nick's going to die on this hill. He's going to be a skeleton at the top of the Robbie Anderson mountain. I want to be like in the Lion King. The GIF when the Rafiki tosses Simba. It's like a joke gift. Didn't actually happen. Yeah. I want to toss Robbie Anderson off the cliff. I want no part of him. I'm not even sure if he should be on fantasy rosters. So he's
just so I can explain my hill real quick with him. Over the last 4 weeks with no Christian McCaffrey, has 37 targets or 30.
But how many fantasy points does he have? I don't care how many targets he gets.
It makes no sense.
It does matter. But it does matter. It matters because he's not scoring.
He's out targeting Jamar Chase. He's out targeting DeAndre Hopkins. He's out targeting Tyreek Hill. He's out targeting Devontae Adams. Like, when you're putting up those targets, you should be putting up those numbers. And Sam Darnold sucks, which is why he can't put up those numbers.
Nope, it's not a Sam problem. Robbie Anderson's not good. All right, we are moving on to the next game. We have the Miami Dolphins against the Buffalo Bills. Nick, who's your trick and who's your treat for this game?
Josh Allen's my trick. Last time he played Miami, he put up 16 points at his worst fantasy week on the season, and they shut the team out. They got up early, and then they were just able to clock the ball out, run the ball through Devin Singletary, and run the clock out, which is why Devin Singletary is going to be my treat on the week. I think Singletary, you could get away with him being an RB2 this week. I know Zach Moss has a prominent role there, but they're going to run the ball from the start of the second half on because they're going to bury this team. Just like they did in week 2. Both of them see production. Both of them see touches, Zach Moss and Singletary, and I don't expect anything less in this matchup.
And then who's your treat?
Oh, my treat is Devin Singletary.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Josh Allen.
Okay. My trick is going to be, let's see. Well,
go with Tua, who got shut out.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good one. You know what? I'm gonna go with Jalen Waddle. I love Jalen Waddle, but the Bills have given up the 5th least amount of fantasy points per game two wide receivers, and Waddle's been Tua's favorite target. Gesicki's up there too. And I'm a guy who said play Waddle every week. That Bills defense is pretty good, so I'm going to bench Waddle this week. I don't think the Tua connection with Waddle is at the level where he's going to kind of get one up on Tre'Davious White. They got shut out in that week 3 game, right, when Tua got hurt. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored. So I'm going to say that Waddle is my trick. As for my treat, let's go with Emmanuel Sanders. Sanders or Diggs, because I don't really want to say Diggs because you're playing him every week anyway. But the Dolphins have given up the 8th most fantasy points to wide receivers on the flip side. So I think Sanders is a pretty good flex play. I think he's become Josh Allen's second favorite target outside of the red zone because Dawson Knox is pretty much his favorite target in the end zone. So I think Emmanuel Sanders is a solid flex play. If I had Sanders and Waddle this week if I'm deciding between the two, I'm picking Sanders. All right, next game, San Francisco 49ers at the Chicago Bears. I'm taking this one. My trick is everybody not named Deebo Samuel on the San Francisco 49ers. Actually, no, Kyle Shanahan's the trick. Kyle Shanahan is the absolute trick who's handing out rocks on Halloween. If you think Elijah Mitchell or Trey Sermon or Ayuk or any of those guys are going to give you fantasy points, nope, you're getting rocks. You know what you're getting with them? This is what you're getting with them. You're getting an empty, I can't even open it because of my gloves, or maybe I can. You're going to get, I used to bring garbage bags trick-or-treating because we used to take a lot of candy from bowls. This is what you're getting. Emptiness. As for my treat, I don't know. I really don't like this game at all. I don't like I'll say Khalil Herbert. I think Khalil Herbert's a pretty solid start. So I'm going to say Khalil Herbert. He's had 15 plus fantasy points in back-to-back weeks. I think he's the running back 1 at the moment over Damian Williams. So I'm going to say Khalil Herbert is my treat on the week. The receivers, like the San Francisco defense isn't great for the secondary, but still, I really can't trust those receivers. So I'm going with Khalil Herbert. We have a question. We do have a question. All right. Jared Maldonado, our good boy Jared. Risk starting Kadarius Toney tomorrow night or go with the safe play in Jarvis Landry? Tony's questionable, right? Is he playing?
Tony's questionable. There's no verdict on whether he's playing or not. I mean, he's been out the past couple of weeks, so you have to assume that, with him still being dinged up, they probably don't want to play him.
Jared, you need another option. I need to see who's on the waiver wire. If Machole Hardman's there or a Chief, if Josh Gordon, you're gonna need to start somebody tomorrow. So if I don't want to start Landry. I don't want to start anybody with Baker at quarterback. I'm starting Odell because I kind of have to due to bye weeks in my receiver core. But I don't want to trust Landry. He's the number 2 option on a team with a quarterback who has like a ridiculously messed up shoulder with like 3 different injuries to it. So I would rather start the upside of Kadarius Toney, but again, you need a backup. So you got about an hour, 10 minutes to get a backup just in case Kadarius Toney can't go.
Yeah, I'm holding on to Toney. I'm not playing Landry. Toney's got so much upside. Even in the game where he got hurt on the first drive of the game, up against Ramsey, went 3 for 33 down the field. Like, the kid's incredibly talented. There's no doubt they're going to use him if he's out there. And if he's not out there, they're going to have to throw the ball against Kansas City anyway. The Kansas City can't stop receivers. I'm sure Sladen's probably there. And I assume if Toney's out, you're probably, you're looking at some of those other receivers that are hurt. I'd risk Toney at that point. But Make sure you keep a roster spot open if you're going to wait till Monday Night Football to do that.
Yeah. Alrighty, Nick. Who's your tricks and treats for the Bears and the San Francisco 49ers?
I'm right with you with Khalil Herbert. Damian Williams had single-digit touches last week. I know they went down early to Tampa, but Herbert was the running back 1. He saw more of the field than Williams did, and he's just going to continue to put up numbers. Matt Nagy is not there, and he was not the play caller for the last 3 weeks where Herbert and Damian Williams saw production. Like, I dropped Damian Williams in all my leagues because Herbert's out touching him, and he's going to continue to in this game. So I think Herbert puts up a good week. They're going to run the ball. And I'm kind of with you. I think another trick is going to be, Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson. I think they're going to run the ball. I don't think they're going to be able to pass. The offensive line is horrendous there.
What if they do pass though? What if the Bears go out there, win this game and win by like 10 or 12, and then Justin Fields has like a career day? Do they fire Matt Nagy tomorrow?
I would hope so. I think Matt Nagy should have been fired before the year. That was going to be one of my other costumes, just a garbage bag. And I was going to call myself Matt Nagy, but I didn't have a Bears hat. So
you could have called yourself the Jets.
I could have called myself the Jets.
I could have put a Seahawks logo and a D with a fence, and that's what I could have done with the garbage. All right, next game we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. Who's your trick and who's your treat?
Steelers Browns. I'm going Claypool. I love Claypool. I think he has a good week. I think people are a little too concerned with the short week against Seattle, but with Juju not there, he's seen a ton of targets and a ton of volume, and he's been a phenomenal player for his first 2 years in this league. There's not a doubt in my mind. Claypool without Juju is a must start every single week, and he can deliver wide receiver 1 numbers consistently without him there. As for my trick, it's going to be Nick Chubb. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion,
That's
but
a good one. I was thinking about it. That's a good one, though.
Dearness Johnson came off a big week, and they don't need to play Chubb. On top of that, the Steelers have been good at shutting down running backs for most of the year with no Kareem Hunt there. I would have called Kareem Hunt a must start if he was healthy this week, because there's going to be passing volume, and that's just not how they use Chubb. I think they find a way to rotate the running back room again this week. And I don't think any of them put up running back 1 numbers, but I could see Dearness Johnson and Nick Chubb finishing as 2 RB2s. I don't think Nick Chubb puts up that monster week that you're used to.
For me, my trick is going to be Jarvis Landry. I just spoke about him. I don't want to play the wide receiver 2, and there's a quarterback that he can throw the ball with his throwing arm, but the other arm, we just don't know how long it's going to hold up for before it actually falls off. So Jarvis Landry is going to be my trick from that game. For my treat, it's going to be Dionte Johnson. The Cleveland Browns have given up the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers. Dionte Johnson is Big Ben's favorite target. He gets like 10 to 12 targets a game, and he gets deep shots too. He's the only guy that Big Ben really throws deep to and actually connects with. So Dionte Johnson has a chance of 100 yards and a touchdown every single week, plus like 6 receptions on top of it. Dionte Johnson has a chance of 20 fantasy points every single week. So I'm gonna say he's my treat for that game. Philadelphia Eagles at Detroit Lions. Trick and treat, Nick.
I got 2 treats for you, and it's the running back for both those teams. Kenneth Gainwell, DeAndre Swift. Both of them are going to be monsters in this game. No Miles Sanders, no Jamal Williams. They're the RB1s there, and they're both extremely talented. Swift has been a top 3 running back. Kenneth Gainwell looks incredibly good without Sanders there. So I think both of them deliver for you. My trick, I'm going to go TJ Hawkinson. I don't trust the Lions in this matchup. I know Nick likes their fight and their grit. I see that on defense. I don't think they can move the ball too well. And most of their points came from trick plays against the Rams, and maybe they run out and do that again, but I think that the Eagles will be prepared for it. I think the Eagles have looked better than their record has been all year. I think they've been putting up good numbers, and they've been short a couple weeks. But I think the Eagles are better than their record. I think the Eagles put up a fight as well, and I don't think I think they'll be prepared for that trickery that the Lions will try and run. So I don't trust Hawkinson to have a monster game again.
For my treat, it's going to be Jalen Hurts. The Detroit Lions have given up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks over the first 7 weeks. So Jalen Hurts will probably be a top 5 quarterback on the week if the Eagles decide to kind of show up and play ball. But I can't stand the Eagles as a football team. I don't think they're any good. So I think the Lions are actually winning today. As for a trick, I think Hurts will put up numbers. But I don't know about any of those receivers. Receivers, Goddard, I don't know. Like the Eagles are a team right now that I don't want any part of. It's almost like the 49ers, but the 49ers have Deebo Samuel. The Eagles, they don't really have anything. Devontae Smith is kind of slowed down. Dallas Goedert should be getting more targets, but that's kind of iffy. We don't know what Kenneth Gainwell is going to do because Miles Sanders didn't do anything when he was healthy. So it's like, what do the Eagles have from a fantasy perspective? How can the Eagles benefit me as a fantasy owner? And I'm not seeing any benefits. So I think all the Eagles are tricks, and I would be benching all of them. Tennessee Titans at Indianapolis Colts. Trick and treat, Nick.
I'm going to steal your guy for the week, Michael Pittman. I love Michael Pittman going into the year. I drafted him in a ton of leagues, and if I showed you his numbers, he would look like the other 2 wide receivers in Tennessee have for the past couple of years. He has been nothing short of phenomenal this year, and he's going to do it again in a favorable matchup. Don't let last week scare you off with how they stopped Kansas City. Carson Wentz has been phenomenal at not turning the ball over. I think he's another treat in this game for you guys. I think he's a great streaming option. I think he's someone you could hold rest of the year without him turning over the ball over. And the Colts look better than they did at the start of the year. They've been one of the most improved teams from week 1 to now. I think they deliver in every aspect. I think you'll have no problems there. And my trick, Julio Jones, he's not going to deliver. He's riding off game value. Is he not playing? Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's ruled out, yeah.
Okay, so then, he's not really a trick. then I'm going to go Ryan Tannehill. I think they're going to have to run the ball without Julio there. AJ Brown has been phenomenal when he's been healthy and out there, and I expect nothing less from that. But Tannehill has not delivered because they just needed to rely so much on the run. Julio helps spread that ball around the field and make guys open. But with no Julio there, there's not much concern then. So I don't think Tannehill's a good start for the week.
My big treat on the week is going to be Carson Wentz. Like you spoke about him a little bit. Wentz has actually been really good these last 4 or 5 weeks, and the Eagles fans have kind of clamored saying we should have kept Wentz. Nope, he wouldn't be the same quarterback over there. There's a statue of Nick Foles outside the link. No, yeah, that's the point where he should have been shipped out. But the Titans have given up the 4th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, and it probably would have been a little higher if Patrick Mahomes had shown up last week. Maybe those TikToks by his brother and wife have gotten in his head a little bit. So Carson Wentz, I think, is somebody that you could definitely start this week. He could be a top 10 quarterback. As for the trick, this is tough because I don't really see many tricks in this game. I'm going to regret saying this. I know I am. The Colts are the 8th best defense against the run. I'm not saying Derrick Henry has a bad game. I'm just saying if they're good against the run, maybe Derrick Henry doesn't score 35, 40, and maybe he isn't the running back 1 on the week. Maybe he's the running back 5. I'm not saying Henry's a trick. I'm not saying that he's going to have a bad game. Just saying if the last 7 weeks shows something, he might not be the running back 1 or 2 on the week.
I think that's fair because you can say Derrick Henry has won you most fantasy weeks. I think it's fair to say he does not go out there and win you a fantasy week. But he puts up 20 points. He'll
have 20 points.
No, of course,
He'll have a great week. He just might have a monster week. Yep.
That's a good take.
Cincinnati Bengals at the New York Jets. Trick or treat, Nick. What do you got? Actually, right before we have a question.
Yeah, let's go to the question first.
Oh, this is a good one. Joe says, is Julio Jones droppable in a 12-man league? I say no. No, not in a 12-man. It's no.
In a 12-man, no. But if I showed you...
In a
10-man, I'd drop him.
I'm considering it, yeah. If you it depends on, it depends on how deep your bench is. Like our bench and our 10-mans are so deep that I would say no, just because of the potential. I know he's name value, and I know he hasn't shown up this season for the most part. But if I look at my waiver wire, who would I rather have than Julio Jones in our league? I don't see anybody. Nobody out there. Not in week 8, maybe 4 weeks ago. Not in week 8. I don't think I even made a pickup this week. So there's nobody out there. I would say no, Joe. I would say he's benchable. I think he has to be benched for like another few weeks until you could trust him. But I wouldn't drop him.
I think I would drop him. I think I would.
For who? Because give me somebody you could drop him for.
If I still see one of my handcuff running backs there, I'd take that. If I know my tight end's going on by or my quarterback, I'd go pick up the quarterback in preparation because I don't want to play every week thinking
how can your bench be that like your bench should already have a bag, but I don't care though. Like assume your bench has a quarterback and a tight end. Your bench has a quarterback and a tight end already.
This is exactly my point. He's riding on name value alone.
I know, but I know it. Tell me right now on your waiver wire. Tell me a receiver or a running back you could pick up right now that you would rather have than Julio Jones.
I'm telling you, if I have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and I know he's going on bye in 2-3 weeks, I'll go drop him and pick up the quarterback with the best.
But why would you drop Julio over like Amon-Ra St. Brown, for example?
Well, if you have Amon-Ra, obviously you're dropping him before Julio.
But that's what I'm saying. Like most.
If your bench is deep enough, you do not need a Julio Jones.
But most people's benches.
Let me tell you the stats over the last. Okay, he's played 5 games this week. 3 catches, 6 catches, 3 catches, 3 catches, 2 catches. If I show you that, you're not rostering that player at all. At all. There's no reason to have him on your lineup.
I know, but again,
he has broken 60 yards once this season.
But
like,
when you
that's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
When you have 10 spots on your bench, you're telling me in a league that is 10 spots
most leagues don't have 10 spots on their bench. Most leagues have 6. In a 6 bench,
right.
In
a 6 bench, he's droppable. If you have 8 or 10, I'm not dropping Julio Jones. There's too much upside. All right. Bengals and Jets. Trick and treat, Nick.
Trick. Uzoma. I think a lot of people are starting him this week because of 2 great matchups. I don't think
Jets are the worst team against the tight end.
I think
terrible against the tight end.
Well, it doesn't matter. I think Joe Burrow is going to abuse his wide receivers. I think Jamar Chase goes and cooks my Jets just to put the nail in my coffin for dissing him all season long. I think Michael Carter gives you a great week this week. I like Michael Carter. I think the team runs through him after that bye week. I love the talent there, and especially with no healthy quarterback. They're running the ball. They're throwing 5-yard routes, and that's his specialty. Give me Michael Carter this week.
I'm going to make Michael Carter my trick, actually. The Bengals are the 7th best fantasy defense, or against running backs, at least. I don't know how the Jets are going to move the ball with Mike White. The Bengals have shut down, they shut down Lamar Jackson in that running game last week. They've played well against the Packers. They had another big win earlier in the season. I forget who they beat. The Steelers. They beat the Steelers, too. I think Najee had a good game, though. But I don't see the Jets really moving the ball, and I watched my Seahawks on Monday night. The Seahawks ran halfback dive over and over and over again. It looked like a Madden game between me and Nick when I had Zeke Elliott and ran him over and over and over again. The only difference between the Seahawks game on Monday night with Alex Collins is Collins was averaging 1 yard per carry and the Seahawks couldn't score. And when I played Nick, Zeke Elliott averaged like 6 yards a carry and I won. Sorry. But so yeah, I see the same situation with Mike White and Michael Carter. I see that the Bengals know it's coming, so they're going to stop it. So that's my trick on the week.
Here's Michael's just so people can make the decision. Over the last 3 games Michael Carter has played, he's seen double-digit touches, found a touchdown in 2 of them, and last week after the bye came away with 9 targets and 8 catches. That was with Mike White at quarterback.
Yeah, we'll see about that one.
That's 8 fantasy points right there.
Yeah.
If it's half PPR, don't start Michael Carter. If it's no PPR, don't, because he's not going to break 60 rushing yards. He's not going to score a touchdown, but you're banking on him catching those short passes, and I think Mike White can only do that.
Yeah. As for my treat, I feel like I could just say anybody on the Bengals at this point. Just anybody on the Bengals offense would probably be a treat for you. All right, Los Angeles Rams against the Houston Texans. I'm going to make this really quick. Your trick is going to be Brandon Cooks. You're not starting him against Jalen Ramsey. My treat is anybody on the Rams offense. The Texans defense is bad against. They're the number 2 or they give up the second most fantasy points to running backs. They give up what are they against tight ends? They're let's see. They're like middle of the pack against tight ends. What about wide receivers? Texans are see if I can find them. They're 6th against wide receivers. And as for quarterbacks, they are number 5. So there you go. Start every single Ram you have.
My trick's David Johnson. Way too many people are starting him this week after they traded Mark Ingram. They're not running the ball this week. Aaron Donald's not allowing that offensive line to push back against them. There is no way David Johnson sees great production unless he catches 10 5-yard passes. And I just don't see that happening. I think way too many people are going to start him, and I'm right in line with you, Nick. Play your Rams. Play them all. I'm going Tyler Higbee, though, as my specialty. I think Higbee has a monster game. I think Higbee, you see a little bounce back. He's been consistent enough to get you around double-digit points each of these past few weeks. I think you see the 2-touchdown game this week.
All right, Chargers and, let's see, Patriots at the Chargers. Who's your trick and who's your treat?
Patriots at Chargers. I'm going to go with my trick as Mike Williams. Why did I call him Michael? Mike Williams. The New England has been phenomenal against rookie and second-year quarterbacks. I think Herbert's better than that. But I think the number one thing they're going to look to do in this game is say, Eckler's hurt. We're going to shut him down. We're going to make you pass the ball. And they're just going to look, to cover Mike Williams. They're not going to let him run deep. And that's where his specialty is. I think they look to stop him. I think they say, Keenan Allen, go ahead, go catch 10 balls for 50, 60 yards, but you're not going to go get your 30-yard pass to Mike Williams. I think that's what Bill Belichick has always been able to do. Pick a player, shut him down. I think it could be Eckler this week, but I think they'll run the ball no matter what. And I think Mike Williams will have more of a limitation against New England. I think your treat is Damian Harris. A lot of people have been benching him, or a lot of people have been saying don't overhype what he did against the Jets. Damian Harris is the most talented running back in that room. I know that they're splitting between 3, but he's just bound to have another big week. They like to run the ball, and they're just going to continue to do it. They're going to manage this game as much as they can with Mac Jones, and Harris is guaranteed to see that field, guaranteed to see some touches. I'm not concerned about him at all.
Nick, Jake texted me earlier, Jake in our league, since he can't join the live show, he's at a course right now. He has Cordell Patterson and Damian Harris. Who would you rather play?
Why do you got to put Why you got to do Cordell Patterson? Wait, am I playing against Jake this week? If I'm playing against Jake,
I think it's in a different league. I'm pretty sure it's in a different league.
It's a different league. I think I'll take Patterson because there's just so much more upside.
And it's a different league because Repass has Patterson in our
That's
league.
right. Okay, so yeah, I think I'd go Patterson because I just think the upside, there's more upside to him than there is Harris.
Yeah. I said the same thing, especially with Calvin Ridley out. I think Patterson gets catches.
Yeah,
I think
that's fair.
the end zone. He's been a top 10 running back this year, so I'm playing Cordell Patterson. For me, my treat on the week is going to be Hunter Henry. The Chargers have given up the 8th most fantasy points to tight ends. Hunter Henry's had, I believe, 3 weeks of 10 plus fantasy points. He's clearly become the tight end one in New England. Mac Jones, rookie quarterback, is targeting his tight end. I think he's a good tight end streamer. If you're missing George Kittle, if you're missing Logan Thomas, if you're missing Darren Waller, I think he's a good streamer. And as for my trick on the week, it's going to be Justin Herbert. The Patriots have given up the 4th least amount of fantasy points, the 6th least amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks. I think Bill Belichick, like you said, he's good at shutting down first and second year quarterbacks. I don't think Herbert's going to have a bad week. I don't think he's going to have a great week, though. I don't think he'll be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. So I think temper your expectations. And I think if you're like my brother Joe and you have Joe Burrow, you're benching Herbert this week.
Just real quick, so a little bit of breaking news. Doesn't affect today's games or this week, but Kyler Murray, legitimate ankle sprain, out 1 to 2 weeks. So going back to the Julio question, if you have Kyler Murray as your quarterback, I'd be willing to drop Julio and take a look at who has the best matchup next week.
No, they're not Seattle faces them, I think, the week after. No. Let's see, the byes next week. Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. They have a bye next week, then they have the Packers, and then Kyler's going to return on for the Seahawks game. Of course that's going to happen. Great.
Wait, are the Cardinals on bye next week?
Nah,
Seattle is.
Seattle's on bye next week.
Okay.
I don't know when the Cardinals are on bye.
I was gonna say that's bad time.
Yeah. Speaking of the Seahawks, Seahawks against the Jaguars, my treat is James Robinson. Derrick Henry had like 40, 50 fantasy points against the Seahawks. Najee Harris had 20 plus. Last week, Kamara, I think, had 30 plus. The week before was Harris. The Seahawks give up. I think Alexander Madison, I believe, played them. I don't think Cook did. I think it was Madison had 20 points. The Seahawks give up a lot of points to fantasy running backs. James Robinson's going to be a top 5 running back on the week. I'm facing him in a league that I traded him away last year in a keeper league, and I'm not too thrilled about facing him this week, but there you go. That's my big treat on the week. As for the trick, it's Tyler Lockett. You're benching him. I want no part of him with Geno Smith. I don't want Alex Collins. Even DK is a flex play. Like DK saved his week last week with that long touchdown, but like that Seahawks offense, they're not fantasy relevant right now. They're worse than the defense, and the defense has been terrible. So there you go.
For my treat, I'm going LaVisca Chenault. I like him. I like the player. I think they look short. I don't think Trevor, is the rookie breakout everybody thought he'd be and have an immediate impact like Burrow and Herbert did. But I still think he's a good quarterback. I think he puts up a good week against a bad defense. I think Chenault will be the biggest benefactor of it. As for my trick, I'm also with you. It's Tyler Lockett. The past 2 weeks has only seen 10 targets, 4 catches, hasn't seen more than 35 yards between the two. He's had 2 bust weeks without Russell Wilson in there, and I don't trust Geno Smith to change that in 1 week's time, even with a favorable matchup. I have to play him in one league because I was short. I was going to bench him for Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown's out this week, so I couldn't play him. But I'm forced to play him. But do not expect one of those big breakout Tyler Lockett weeks. I don't think it's possible with Geno there.
Nope. Washington football team at the Denver Broncos. Who's your trick? Who's your treat?
My treat is Jerry Judy. He's coming back into this lineup. I like him a lot. I like his talent. He was ready to go last week, and they held him off for one more week just to be safe. I think Denver, they've struggled the past few weeks, but I think Judy spaces out the field a little bit different. I think they get a bunch of different looks with him in the lineup, and they move the ball a lot better. And Washington has not been the defense that it was last year, so I trust him. My trick is going to be Terry McLaurin. I don't think he finishes as a wide receiver 1 this week. I think he struggled last week a little bit, and Denver's going to put pressure on this team. They're not going to allow too many throws. I know Gibson's already hobbled, so McKissick has seen a little bit of a benefit, but I just do not trust McLaurin. I'm still playing McLaurin, but I don't think he finishes as a top 10 wide receiver this week.
My trick is going to be Javonte Williams. I know he had it seemed almost like a breakout game. I think he had like 17, 18 fantasy points. He's had 2 of those this season. But the football team is the 4th best defense from a fantasy perspective against the running backs. So I'm not going to play Javonte Williams this week. And as for my treat, I really don't like this game from a fantasy perspective. I guess I'll say Ricky Seals-Jones. I think he's playing this
week. A lot of people are saying to bench him, yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't like any of them. I don't have a treat for
exactly.
This
I don't like any of them. You don't want to play the Denver
in this
defense.
game. There's nobody in this game that I really like. So we got a little bit of news here. Christian McCaffrey didn't travel with the Panthers to Atlanta, but he remains on target to come off injured reserve for next Sunday's game against the New England Patriots. So
I don't
more on Wednesday. I don't either. Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the New Orleans Saints. I spoke about it on the show. I think my trick is going to be Leonard Fournette. The Saints have the best defense against running backs in general and against fantasy running backs. Fournette's become a solid running back too. But I think this is the first week that Fournette's not going to be in the top 10 in a while. I think he's been in the top 10 of running backs from fantasy perspective in the last 4 or 5 weeks, like every week. I don't think he does that this week. I think the Saints hold him, and it's more of a Brady week. And with that said, your treat is going to be Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to light it up against these guys. He's going to throw it to every receiver. You're starting Godwin. You're starting Evans. So Brady's going to have a good game, and I think those two have good games too.
My treat is going to be Jameis Winston, and he can either be your trick or your treat. And I heard this on First Things First, and I think it makes perfect sense. Jameis Winston, only 3 interceptions on the year, believe it or not. And the only way they're going to go beat Tampa Bay is by just saying, Jameis, we're riding or dying on you. You're throwing this ball. And they're going to have to air it out. They're going to have to consistently put pressure on Tampa. They're going to have to throw the ball against them. They're going to have to do that. That's the only way they're going to win, is putting a ton of points on the board, which says, Jameis, just go do Jameis. You're going to ride or you're going to die on him. I think he has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback this week. Not saying he will, but he has the upside because I think they have to unleash him and let him unload to win this game. My trick, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's Rob Gronkowski. If he's playing, I don't trust him. That's the guy I'm not liking on the week.
All right, Sunday Night Football. We have the Dallas Cowboys going to the Minnesota Vikings. Who's your trick? Who's your treat?
My trick is going to be, is Michael Gallup officially in? Because I'll go with Gallup because
I don't think he's officially in yet. I don't think
so. I don't remember if Gallup. If it's Gallup, I'm not playing Gallup. I think if Dak is playing or if he's not, they're not going to be able to air it out for Gallup to be able to do Gallup things. If Dak's not playing, I'm benching Amari Cooper without a question this week. Without a problem, I'll look to pivot to one of the Giants wide receivers. Or if you have the depth of having Thielen and him, which I doubt, but if you do, I would bench him for Thielen. So probably Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup pending Dak's injury. And my start, I'm going Dalton Schultz. We haven't talked about him in a little while, but Dalton Schultz has been pretty good this year. I think he's a top 5 player, top 5 tight end, and he already has the bye week done with. So you should be locked into your lineup every single week from here on out.
I'm with you on the tricks, so I don't need to go through that again. As for the treats, it's the Vikings wide receivers. The Dallas Cowboys, outside of Trevon Diggs, have given up the second most fantasy points to wide receivers. So I think Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, both have 20-point weeks. One of them is going to be in the top 5. The other one's probably going to be in the top 10 on this week's fantasy wide receivers. Monday Night Football, last game. New York Giants going to Arrowhead. Kansas City Chiefs. It's a get-right game, Nick. So who's your trick and who's your treat for this one?
My treat is Machole Hardman. I think Hardman has a good game here. I think that they're going to have to do something different, and I think what they say is we just can't keep throwing to the same 2 guys, and they try and find a way to move the ball. I think Mahomes is going to have to play a little bit more conservative as well because he's been playing, must-win hero ball, and it hasn't been working the past couple weeks. So I think they find some changes. I think Hardman will be the change. I think Gordon's going out there this week. I still think Hardman's the 2 there. No concern with that. My trick's going to be, I don't know, because I would really start everybody that you can from this matchup, honestly. I mean, maybe Darrell Williams doesn't see as much work because I think the secondary is pretty bad in New York and they could see those deeper.
Is Barkley out or is he questionable?
I think they just ruled Barkley out yesterday.
I think they did. So my trick's going to be Devonte Booker. So I think the Chiefs are going up in this game. I think At some point, they need a get-right game. This is it. Arrowhead, Monday night, 11, 8 days to practice and ponder. Well, the back-to-back losses, was it?
Yep.
Was it back-to-back? Yeah, it was, I think.
I think they lost 3 out of their last 4, 3 of their last 5.
Something like that, yeah. So this is the get-right game, and I think the Chiefs will be up big. Devonte Booker's not going to get a lot of work. I think the Chiefs win by 10+. I think the spread's 9.5, and I'm taking the Chiefs in that one in my spread pool, so I'm not playing Devonte Booker. As for your treat, the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs are going to be your treat. Patrick Mahomes, Darrell Williams, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. If you have any of these guys and you need a Monday Night Miracle, I think you're going to get it, especially if you have 2 of them. If you have 2 of these guys and you need a Monday Night Miracle, if you have Mahomes and Kelce, you could be down 70 points, and I would say you have a legitimate chance.
I agree.
So those are our tricks and our treats for our special Halloween episode. That's all we got for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. Hopefully you have a safe and happy, fun-filled Halloween. Hopefully your fantasy teams are giving you some treats today and not a bunch of tricks because, hopefully by week 8 now you're getting some wins. So thank you guys for joining. The next time you'll hear from us, it's going to be this Tuesday. The audio and video versions, as always, the audio versions on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all those places. And the video version of it will be on our YouTube channel. So make sure to catch us there, catch us on social media, and catch us real soon. Spider-Man signing off. And we got Person Mike signing off. So we'll talk to you guys on Tuesday.